Hello, this is Dragon 1400 and this is All Grown Up Season 4 review. Man, it has been a while and I do apologize for that, but now I'm going to be back to making about probably 1 to 2 videos a week. But enough on that. Let's get into a long anticipated Season 4 review of All Grown Up. So as you can see, all the episodes did pretty good with the minimum of 7 on the list and of course the high of 10 out of 10. Episode overall got like a 9.0 out of 10 if you just average it out, but my review is probably going to be a little bit different than that. Sometimes it's the same. Now what kind of hurt this season was the fact that for me, Season 3 was so great and then this season was really good, but it just wasn't as great as Season 3. So it's kind of like you go off from like a high note to like an average note or like a good note. However, overall, I think the season did really great. They had some really great episodes in it. However, the season lacks again with pretty much no Kimmy development. The only thing we get from her is that she likes aminos. We see that in rat traps and RV having fun yet. It's no Kimmy development again. Like, we haven't seen any Kimmy development since Season 2. And really, like, next season does kind of make up for it. It does have, like, 2 episodes focused on Kimmy. But at the same time, like, they should really spread them out a little bit. Every character should have at least some character development in every season, even if it's just a side plot. I am biased to Kimmy since she is my favorite character. However, like, even Dill got some character development in this episode. He got a whole episode that was "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?", which was the only episode that focused on Dill as the main plot that I actually enjoyed. Like, he's a great side character. He's really funny, but so far his episodes have not been good. They have been very subpar and even bad at times. Like, Is He or Isn't He is probably my least favorite episode of all time in the series, and that episode focused on Dill, well, a little bit on Chucky as well. And like, he has had bad episode after bad episode, but this one was a great episode. What did I get it anyway? I even gave it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was an amazing episode, and it really did focus on that, like, Tommy and Dill brotherly bond and how they actually clashed. And it does kind of make sense that they would have times where they think like each other is annoying and get on each other's nerves. And I really liked in this episode how Dill realized that because the family he was hanging out with was acting like him and he was getting annoyed. So he kind of like saw the world from Tommy's eyes and he saw where Tommy was coming from. In the end, of course, they make up, but I thought this was a great character development for Dill, and he actually realizes that sometimes his behavior can get annoying to other characters. So huge plus on Dill. Tommy, like, we got to see a little bit in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?", but his major development this season was RV having fun yet. That episode that created that relationship with his mom, and it was just like he wanted to go off on his own. He thought he was ready and everything. He realized he wasn't, but at the same time his mom realized that she needs to let go a little bit. So I just thought that was great dynamic between mother and son, and it's really kind of speaks to us all. However, like, having kids travel halfway across the world when the oldest one is 13, yeah, I mean, not the world, the country. I'm not really sure about that, but at the same time, it was really good dynamic, and they both, like, Dee Dee and Tommy, grew. However, they kind of ruined it in the episode Lost at Sea, where the side plot was like Rachael was taking up too much of his mom's time, and it was kind of like Tommy didn't really learn from, like, they had that conflict between Dee Dee and Tommy again, like, just a few episodes later. You don't do that in shows. You don't, like, have, like, the same type of conflict, like, a few episodes later. And I've said this before in, like, Season 1 where they had too many Tommy and Dill episodes. It's the same thing here. Like, they shouldn't have had that conflict like that. Like, I know it's a different type of conflict, but it felt too similar. And RV having fun yet did it so much better. So, that being aside, like, let's move on to Rachael, I guess. I don't like Rachael. She is good at everything and she's bad at nothing. And I've said this before when in the episode Rachael and Lost at Sea, I think, that she really has no bad qualities. And when you have a character with no bad qualities, you have no way for them to grow. So I just thought that was a really minus for Rachel's character, and she would have been more likable if she had some bad qualities to her. And I'm personally glad in the next season, a little bit of spoiler, but I mean, I guess it's a really old show, but when when Tommy and Rachael break up, because we don't really see any growth from Rachael, and really she's a poorly done character, zero character development, and there's no way to grow her character. So that being said, I guess she was just there to be Tommy's first official girlfriend or whatever, and that's all right. But at the same time, they kind of did that in the last season. It was like the season 1, A Fear of Falling or whatever. That I think they did it better, and they didn't really focus on like Tommy's like crush's character. When this, they kind of show Rachel's character to be this great character. So yeah, not a fan of Rachael. They do a similar thing in Rachael, where Tommy and Chucky kind of like lose their friendship or whatever, and the same kind of thing happens in Fear of Falling. However, this one they're like more mature about it. And the same thing goes, like, in Fear of Falling, they did not mention how Chucky did the same thing when he liked Nicole, and he pretended to be Chongo. Like, I don't understand why Chucky doesn't mention that. Like, Chucky's a character that mentions his past, like, probably past episodes more than any other character. Like, they put things in there like You Gotta Go, addiction. They put things in there like the Chongo incident. But Chucky doesn't, like, he doesn't mention this, and it strikes me as odd because he's a character that mentions like things that's happened to them in the past. He's like the only one who does. Maybe there's a couple other characters who do, but he's the one who mentions it the most. And it's weird that he doesn't really mention the whole Chongo incident, like in Fear of Falling or in like Rachael. So that being said, though, Chucky's character really shines in Rat Traps. Like, this is probably one of my favorite episodes of all time. And it has like everyone gets some character development. Even Kimmy, she gets character development. We realize she likes animals. We get to see like all these different characters do these different things, and we get to see Chucky stand up and be brave, be that leader. You know, that a lot of times he's not because Tommy and Kimmy are there, but this time he stood up and became the leader, and he stopped the bad guys. That was amazing. Now these bad guys were a little bit like they're kind of like Home Alone bad guys in a sense, but even dumber and stupider. They're not exactly the best thieves in the world. However, it was really good to see, like, you know, a bunch of kids stop them, leading by Chucky, and Chucky like stood up to be brave. I mean, he even had a moment with, and I mentioned in the episode, with Lil in there, and it was just great. It was great to see his character development. It's always good to see Chucky grow as a leader. We got to see him like be a leader in the past, but him failing at it. Now we got to see him to be a leader and actually succeeding in it. So I thought it was his and Angelica's like character development in the series are the best. And one of the reasons is because they have all these negative characteristics about them. Angelica's just mean and bad, and Chucky is like really bad at stuff. Like he doesn't have like confidence and all this stuff. But because of that lower baseline, there's so much more for characters to grow. Like, so we get to see a lot of character development from Chucky and Angelica. Speaking of which, we really got to see Angelica shine in, well, 3 episodes, 2 really done well. I mean, there's Ladies Man, we got to see her relationship with Harold and how much she actually depends on Harold. So I feel like she grew that way, but I don't think she changes after that. But she does appreciate him, at least for a little bit. Like I said with Angelica in the past, is like she goes like 1 step forward and like 1 step back, or 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like, there is a growth going on with her, but it's like she goes up and then she goes down, and she might not go down all the way, but it's just like this roller coaster ride with Angelica in terms of character development. However, it is this gradual slope up, so maybe like she will like appreciate Harold a little bit more and not take as much advantage of him. Now, Lost at Sea really developed Angelica and Charlotte's like mother-daughter relationship pretty much more than any other episode in the past. We got to see Charlotte like lose her job, and we got to see a lot more of her character development as well, which is really good. And we get to see that Angelica helps Charlotte like get themselves out of there, and then Charlotte helps Angelica to get her confidence back as well. So it was really good to see that like mother-daughter relationship between Charlotte and Angelica. Now the episode she really shines in and really grows in really is In the Family's Way. Angelica is put in the Carmichael house with Susie. It has to follow their rules. And I said in that episode that the Carmichaels are the best parents in the show. And really Angelica's like lifestyle did not mix with the Carmichaels. Angelica like was this brat that demanded all this stuff, and the Carmichaels were like, no. And it turns out Angelica meets the challenge. She's faced with a challenge and she meets with it, and she does an excellent job. She does actually more than what was required of her. And she was even tricked. And this is another great thing about the episode is that Susie turns out to be the bad girl in this episode. And it's always like involves around Angelica of when Susie like kind of turns bad a little. Yes, that was a little bit of foreshadowing for next season, but we'll talk about that later. However, Susie actually changes the chores chart to be these fake chores that Angelica has to do to break her. Of course, she gets caught, she gets in trouble, and that's all good. But it was really good to see like Susie's like bad side and like have Angelica actually do good for once. You're actually rooting for Angelica in this episode, which is like doesn't happen very often. She's painted as the antagonist, sort of, unless it involves like Savannah, which wasn't really in this episode. It was more Brianna being kind of the antagonist, and Susie, of course. I really like that like change of pace. Like you turn her around, Angelica's the good guy and Susie's the bad girl. So, well, good girl, bad girl. You know what I mean. Anyway, about Susie's character, like I already talked about it. It was In the Family's Way. So let's go on to like Tommy's character. I already talked about Tommy's character. Phil and Lil. Now they had 2 episodes. They had Separate but Equal and A DeVille House Divided. Separate but Equal is one of my least favorite episodes in this season. And I'll get more about that later. However, it did have good moments with Phil, and he was funny, and he actually grew more than Lil in that episode. We see him actually mature. He basically gets puberty, and he starts to like girls, and he doesn't really know how to deal with it, and kind of the way he acts is just funny. It's just what you would expect from any kid any boy just starting to like girls. It was kind of funny. Now Lil, A DeVille House Divided, we get to see that Phil like gets his first girlfriend, Wally, and Lil just feels like the third wheel, and she feels left out. And there's one point where she even like does what Angelica usually would do, and she actually breaks them up. So it was just like I saw like a little bit of Angelica in Lil at that moment, and I think if you like see the photo, I'll probably show it right here. It just it basically the eyes, it seems like Angelica. But at the same time, like afterwards, Lil like regrets doing it, and she asks for forgiveness, and it was really good to see like Lil's growth there. So that's kind of it for the character development. The animation is good overall. Now I mentioned in previous seasons how I'm like, oh, the animation is worse than like season 1. It's actually better, and it does have its really good moments. I really do like the animation. I mean, of course, it can be improved, especially nowadays standards. Even back then standards, it could have been improved, but One thing that stands out for the animation is the fact that the kids wear different clothes. Now, if you look at like cartoons, even nowadays, like they're always wearing like this pretty much the same clothes and only have change of clothes like very rarely or like between seasons. And the fact that like even within the same episode, like characters are wearing different clothes, I just think that's a huge plus on the animators. And I should mention it. I think I mentioned it before, but it's always a huge plus. I don't really mention this in the characters, but Harold gets an episode, ladies man. It was a great episode for him. He's not my favorite character. He's one of my mid tier characters, I guess you could say. He's all right, but it was really good to see his character development get some character development in this season. Also, like I guess Prince Penguin and Miss O'Keats are officially dating. That's a plus. And some of the bad. I mean, I guess some more of the good. The transitions pretty much seamless as always. They're nothing like write home about, but they're not really noticeable throughout the whole season. Maybe I talked a little bit about it episode to episode, but overall, I thought the season was really good. It's like I said, it coming off of season 3 makes it worse, makes it appear worse than it actually is. I thought it was a great season overall. I mean, it had some flops, of course. I'm gonna give the season an 8.5 out of 10. Now, on to like the favorite episode and the least favorite episode. So, the favorite episode is either between Rat Traps and In the Family's Way. Now, as much as I love In the Family's Way, with Angelica and Susie kind of switching roles, and it was just really good character development for them. Rat Traps with Chucky's character getting a leadership role, that whole moment he had with Lil, and it was just a great episode. How all the main characters plus Harold were involved. So I just thought that was a great episode, very well structured, great character development for Chucky, and it definitely beats out In the Family's Way by a bit. Now, my least favorite episode this season is either Lost at Sea or Separate But Equal. Now, I'm going to have to pick Separate But Equal, and here's why. As much as I dislike Lost at Sea for the side plot of the whole Tommy and his mom having conflict over Rachael, Separate But Equal only had one redeeming quality, and that was Phil's like character in terms of that it was funny. Like, it's like I said, like during my review, I didn't even know how to review the episode because they talked about puberty all the time, and it was just kind of sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was just really awkward, and it was bad, it was poorly written. I just didn't like the episode. So Separate Equal, my least favorite episode of the season. Anyway, it's like I said, I give the episode 8.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. See you in the next one. Bye.